Here with Dustin Poirier, UFC 299 co-main event, 5-round fight, tough guy, and it's a home game. And I was actually looking back through your record, and you've never fought at Florida. Well, it's kind of a home game, like home away from home. Right?
Yeah, from New Orleans straight to Miami or to Fort Lauderdale is an easy flight for people back home. But the closest I fought to here was New Orleans. You know, that was years ago.
Yeah. Is there how have you liked so far? I mean, the fight week's just getting started, but how do you like fighting?
I was just talking to my buddy. It's weird, like getting in the car and driving to fight week instead of waking up early and getting on a flight. It's cool though, you know.
Yeah.
It's good.
You've mentioned a few times that you know, this is your 30th UFC fight. You feel pride in that, I gotta imagine. Yeah. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, getting there is one thing. Staying there as long as I have is another thing. Staying at the top, fighting these killers over and over again is it's just a testament to my work ethic and my commitment to being the best fighter I can be. You know, it's hitting 30 UFC fights is a pretty big deal to me.
Hard to do. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head. Do you? Maybe you know, like how many people have even done that? Like it's got to be.
I just saw a stat. 13.
13.
I'm the 13th.
Yeah. I mean, you have won an interim championship. What do you think is more difficult, winning the championship or being here for 30 fights?
They're both so tough, man. Probably winning the championship.
It's harder.
Yeah.
There have been more people to probably hold a championship than to get to 30 fights.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
We were just talking about your daughter a little bit before the interview started. You had like because I saw that, you know, a lot of people can come in for this one. You have a lot of people who can drive up for this one. Is like the support going to be a little bit different for this one in Florida?
You know, I do have a lot of friends and people I know here in South Florida. But, you know, I lived here for almost 6 years when I first moved to American Top Team in 2012. But that's an easy flight from New Orleans or even from Lafayette, where I'm from, to get to Fort Lauderdale and get to Miami. So I should have a good bit of people here.
Like whole family coming out, or your daughter come out for this one?
My daughter's not going to come out to this just because she's 7 now. So she knows what's going on. She knows daddy fights. And it's just it's chaotic in the arena. And you never know what's going to happen. I don't want to see me bleeding or going to the hospital. So I don't want to put her through that.
For sure. So this fight week may be a little bit different for you just in terms of where it's at, but I think it's also different like from people from the outside looking at it, because every single one of your fights for so long has been like, you know, Conor McGregor, or it's been, you know, BMF, or it's been like, oh, it's a championship fight, interim championship fight, whatever the case is. And now it kind of feels like, at least to us, I think, that this is one where you're just defending your spot. You know, like have you felt that? Has this one felt a little different?
They all feel big to me. I mean, co-main event, 5 rounds. It feels big to me, you know.
For sure, it was big, but like just the motivation of like there's always something to gain in this fight, and this one fight kind of feels like you're defending something a little bit. Like, have you felt like that?
It's more like I understand what you're saying, but it's more like a test. This is like a personal challenge, you know. It's climbing the ladder and all those things, like you're saying, the goals and things that we put in front of us to reach. But this is like testing myself, throwing myself in the fire with a young guy who's on a finish streak and on a good run, has a lot of hype behind him. Let's see, you know, I'm 35 years old. This guy was like you know, I was fighting in the UFC, paying my bills, and this guy was in high school, you know, maybe a freshman, you know.
Yeah. Who do you think has the advantage there?
I think I have the advantage.
Being the older guy and experience, as opposed to like that hunger, like you just said, you back then, when you were fighting, trying to pay your bills and everything, like you do think that now is a more advantageous part of your career, though?
I think the process leading up to the fight's a fight. You know, that's still crazy. But the process of going through fight week and stuff like that, I think it's an advantage to have the experience I have.
How different does a fight week feel these days, as opposed to, that was your 30th time going through it. What about like compared to like your 5th, 6th, 7th time?
No, there's no comparison. There's no comparison. Like seeing all you guys and the cameras and bumping into legends down in the hallway, you know, that I've been watching fight forever. Years ago, it felt different.
Yeah. Does it feel like business to you now, or does it still feel like kind of like a sort of that primal like getting into a fight thing, or does it feel like more business?
It's definitely business. It's definitely business, but the primal part is only going to come on Saturday. This is just all smoke and mirrors until we really get down.
You said leading before this fight was booked that like you want a fight that means something. These fights got to mean something for you to take them at this point in your career. You know, like we've been talking about, we've done this 30 times. Did you want this fight right away?
I was more surprised when they offered it to me. You know, I thought it was going to be another a legend in the fight game, or a former champion, something, you know, that was going to be big. Not that this isn't big, you know. But that's the way I flipped it, you know. Personally, like I had to flip it. What's my motivation? Why am I going to do this? Am I fighting just to fight? Because I don't know what else to do with my time. Am I fighting for money? I don't need, you know, I'm not fighting for money. Money's great, but like, why am I getting up and running these miles and getting beat up at the gym and pushing myself and going to sleep hungry, and why am I doing that? And I thought deeply about it before I came to training camp when I committed to this fight, and the answer to all those questions is to test myself. 30 fights in the UFC. Let me fight this young man who has fire in his eyes, as a young lion who's finishing people. Let me put myself in front of this guy and see what happens. I know I still have it, but I want to prove it to myself.
How long, like that process that you just described, how long did that take? Was it quick?
This was, I would say, at least a week, at least a week.
If you have to sit there and think about, is this guy going to get me motivated for a fight? Is that almost reason right there that maybe you shouldn't take it? Like, if you have to think about it that much?
I just want to, all my UFC career has been, who can I fight? Who do I need to fight to get me to that next step, to climb the ladder? I need to get to the top of the staircase. And then you get there and there's only a couple steps left, but you can't take those because fights are getting booked or you lost your last one. So you have to take a couple steps down. You have to figure out how to get back to the top. So it's just putting it all into ways that I can think and understand everything, why I'm lacing up the gloves every day when I do.
When you were going through that process, did you kind of know the whole time, like, I'm going to end up taking it, but I just want my mind to be in the right spot? Or was there really like kind of reservation of like, am I going to take this fight?
I would say more leaning towards I'm going to take this fight.
Yeah.
Because this is what I've done since I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
For 17 years I've been preparing for a fight. I feel like nonstop. I had a couple surgeries here and there, a couple setbacks where I wasn't able to compete for months, but it's just what I do.
Yeah. Didn't you say in another interview that like you were looking at the mirror and you're like that meme of like, do I still got that dog in me type thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when they said this guy's name, because I was at his last fight in New York. I was a guest for a sponsor of the UFC. I did a meet and greet, and then we went out to Madison Square Garden and I watched him fight for Vola. And I was there when he called me out, and I was just like, oh, dude, this guy, he's got some work to do. I think somebody even asked me after the fight. They were like, is he next? I was like, no way. The UFC's not going to make that happen. And then here we are.
Yeah.
When they offered it to me, I was like, okay, let's see.
Have you gotten to know him much in terms of like, do you watch interviews or kind of get like, do you know much about him as a person as opposed to just a fighter? Have you gotten a sense of it?
Well, I know he was military in France, but I haven't really seen a whole lot of his personal. I was just watching his fights.
The reason I ask is because he, at least something I've got picked up from him is that like he does seem to want like this hard fight. Like when you talk about like being thrown in a fire, like he kind of articulates that as well. Like he's like, I want like the blood in the back of my mouth. Like I want that. I want to see who breaks first, And like for a guy who's fought so many guys and been in those types of fights, like, are you kind of curious sometimes to see if the other person has that, like, and can you tell before the fight, or is that something that you only find out like in there?
You can't tell before the fight, but we'll find out in there.
Yeah.
I'm not curious if they have it, because we're going to find out, because I know I have it. So if it gets to that kind of fight, if it gets to that kind of dog fight, we'll see.
Yeah.
Only time will tell. I'll be the judge of that.
And I got to ask, like, you've already proven that you can go there, and that you have that in you, like, why is there a need to keep, like, for you, why is there a need to like keep finding out if it's still there? Like when you already found out that it is there. Like I said, accepting the Justin Gaethje fight, like I didn't need to fight Gaethje. But when they said his name, that was a fight that I like, oh man, this could be crazy. It made me nervous. And same thing with this guy. I'm watching his fights. I'm watching him make his debut at 170, taking these big shots, still walking forward for 15 minutes, Those kind of fights are the fights that I want to be involved in. I want to be nervous about them. And I think I would be nervous about any fight. It's a fight. But those kind of guys who show that grit, and that's the fights I want to stand in front of those guys. Yeah. The title, how much does it mean to you at this point in your career? Still, I feel like I've done everything in the sport but wrap the undisputed title around my waist. Some of these longevity records and stuff are cool, like 30 fights, all that stuff, but being an undisputed champ is the reason I started fighting, and that still means a lot to me. But it's like over the last 5-6 years, getting so close, coming back down, getting so close, getting knocked back down, I've kind of put it out the way and just focus on one fight at a time. It's like until Saturday, I can't like redline myself mentally thinking about title shots. I just got to get the job done first. Yep. Yeah. The only other thing I wanted to ask you is that you have said that like you're at a point in your career where any fight can be your last, and I mean I guess like any fighter could say that, right? Yeah. Somebody asked me that like last week, I think, in an interview. They were like, "Are you getting close to the end of your career?" I was like, okay. I don't know. Every fight could be my last. Yeah. Yeah. It's been that for the last I don't know how many years. Okay. I did want to clarify that because I saw that statement and it was just like, are you starting to think about the end or not? I mean, I know it's coming.
I can't do this forever. I'm 35 years old. This is my, I don't know how many 40th professional fight. I have a lot of amateur fights as well. You know, I have a family to be there for, and I can't love something so much that because every time I get in there, Saturday night, a piece of me is going to leave that I can never get back. And I've come to terms with that every time I step in there. And sometimes it's not that way, but 95% of the time it is that way.
Yeah.
Just the way I fight and the kind of fights I get involved in.
Yeah.
And I understand that, but I can't love something so much to where it takes away from what's most important. Fighting is just something I do.
Mm-hmm.